What's up, traders? Matt from the Trade Brigade here doing a technical analysis on ticker symbol IPOF for Social Cap Hedosophia Holdings. Hopefully I'm saying that right. On the left-hand side, we do have the daily time frame here, and on the right-hand side, the 30-minute intraday time frame. Before we jump into this, I want to make something abundantly clear. It's been an issue on the channel in the past, is I'm not going to dive deep into the short float or the short interest, the short squeeze potential of this name, right? If technically we get a break of some structural element, which we'll outline in just a second here, then fine. If a short squeeze happens, it's going to be icing on the cake. But just because there's potential for a short squeeze does not mean that I'm going to jump in blindly without a technical break. So now that that's out of the way, let's start off by mapping out obvious areas of support and resistance from the daily perspective. So I would first make note that there is a large gap, right? Technically, it's only about 15-ish, let's call it 12 cents, right? Technically how this is drawn in. But there's a sizable gap underneath us comparing that to what we've seen in terms of recent price action, right? So that's all I'm getting at here. And the first thing we have to consider is that if 1014 is given up as support, then the gap should fill down to 1002, right? That's the logical thing that would happen. Also, from the daily perspective, we're seeing that there was a pivot high in here. We closed below that, but did puncture it with today's upper wick. We'll check that out in more depth in just a second. And then after that, what else are we seeing as resistance? I would certainly call this area out here at about $10.84. After that, this in here strikes me as important, noting that prior support then turned to resistance on the wick of this candle right here. Beyond that, we'll just go one more in case this crazy short squeeze does happen, and we're looking at 1232. Could it go much higher? Yes, but for the sake of today's video, we're going to leave it off at that as an upside target. Taking a look to the downside as potential supports that are intermediate here, I would just make the note that there's a level here at 1023. We'll see how that fares on the 30-minute chart in a moment, but that did strike me as important from the daily perspective. We have the gap underneath, and certainly there's a floor way down here at about $9.80, as there always is with these SPAC type interests. So taking a look at the 30-minute intraday time frame chart now, what we always like to do whenever there's a large expansion of range is just judge the strength of the move through the lens of Fibonacci, so going from low all the way on up to the high. You can see that into the end of the day, as this pullback did develop, we actually violated the 38.2, which, as we know, is the key sort of Fibonacci to pay attention to for the most bullish outcome in terms of strength. So because that's violated, we would just look at the next 50%, and we kind of closed right on it in the after hours. You can certainly see up here, we're trading about 1044 by 1049, so somewhere right around this area of the chart, and we're now back above the 38.2. So I would argue, because the pullback did come into this 50% mark, that should really be the structural element that you watch as we go forward. So what we'll do is map that out with a regular price level, and then we'll take off our Fibonacci's and just, talk about potential scenarios here. So as long as we can open and consolidate in here, even up to today's high really is fine. That would be the most bullish outcome, right? And then you're looking for a breakout over today's high to take us into some of those daily targets, which we've outlined from that initial perspective. So that's the bull case. If we break down underneath 1038, then I would kind of avoid this until we get back down into here. At this point in time, if we come into today's low, what you would have to ask yourself is, if I'm still bullish, I would start looking for hammer candles, indecision dojis, basically anything that would make you question, is this potential pullback coming to an end? Can we flip long over the highs and get back into some of those upside targets? Beyond 1014, my thoughts, the gap should fill at 1002. From there, ask yourself the same set of questions with the same type of candles, and if that goes, 1002 goes, then I would imagine it's kind of just back down into here, no man's land. So that's how I'm playing this. Again, looking at structure first. If a short squeeze does happen, it's icing on the cake. So if you enjoyed today's video, if you learned anything new, let me know in the comments section or by giving the video a thumbs up. Don't forget our main channel is linked in the description, and all of that being said, I wish you a green trading week.